My name is Cory. I am the set and costume designer for Noël and Gertie. So a huge part of the inspiration for the show and for the set specifically comes from the 1920s and 30s Art Deco architecture period. So you'll see at the very front of the space this very, very large gold false proscenium arch in the style of the Art Deco architecture of those buildings. What we've also done in terms of costume and the character development is we've looked at photos of the actual people, so obviously the advantage being that they are real historical figures. So we've got some really nice architecture from actual real life and then archive footage from the actual people to really refer to, which has been really useful. We were really lucky to have a huge amount of support from the estate, from Noël Coward, in terms of handing over letters, footage, different bits of manuscripts, handwritten text, which is something we were incredibly grateful to get our hands on to use, and has been sort of used and scattered throughout the show as paper props, different parts of digital work. Just being able to have access to that has been invaluable. I think what's been really significant in terms of costume designing, it's really hard because there's some really beautiful pieces, but I think for specifically costume, having the tops and tails, sort of having top hats, again, it's so iconic for that era to see that black and white monochrome dressing and to be able to have the two of them doing the choreography, which I think lots of people will recognise elements of, not just from them, but from very different characters throughout those periods of time and from big dance pieces. It's really nice to have that, and it's such a sharp, clean look that it's a really beautiful thing to see. But actually, unusually for me as well, something that's been really nice to explore is Gertie's hair. We were lucky enough to have a wig done for the show and be able to sort of really go through images and find the right colours and play with tones that suited Rebecca, but also felt like they paid homage to Noël and Gertie as a story. It was really lovely to be able to do, and as a designer you don't get to do it very often, so that was really good fun for me to be able to explore. There's far more costume changes than I anticipated. I think at a script read it feels like it could very much have one or two. And again, we've been lucky enough to be supported by the Mayflower and by Tom's vision of wanting to have much more than that. I've been able to really flex my creative muscles. And so yeah, I think we go through about 5 or 6 changes each, which in a space that depends on those cast members on stage all of the time is a very tricky thing to do, but I think it's really worth it. I think we've pulled it off. Oh, I personally really love Gertie's coat and hat that she walks in. I think Rebecca wears it splendidly, but it's also a very gorgeous piece, and the colour up against the set and the sort of pushing those colour palettes, just there's something very satisfying about that image, and I actually would quite like to own it myself. Wow, that's a really good question. I think in the 1930s we were really accentuating body shapes. It's something we've lost a little bit of as we've moved through history and clothing. So we've got a lot of high-waisted trousers, which actors always find quite interesting. It's a very different shape from what we're used to. But again, accentuating waistlines. And you've got a lot of satin bias cut dresses, something that again is very feminine, very chic, very floaty. And I think there's elements of the 1920s where we lose that a little bit and you sort of see the more flapper shape that we're used to seeing. But as we move into the 30s, we do start accentuating female bodies again, which I think is a really lovely thing to be able to do in a theatre space. Three words to sum up Noël and Gertie. Let's go with classic, nostalgic and friendship.
Oh wow, perfect. Thank you so much.
Done.